Perfect. That means yes, as opposed to wait a minute. Okay, I will call this, Tuesday, March 31st special meeting of the Knox County Commission to order. All three commissioners are here. Is there anything that we would like to update anybody on? If we have everybody here?
Not today.
Okay, not today.
Not today.
But maybe on Thursday.
Maybe Thursday.
Public comment. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to address the commission?
Evening, I'm Don Grinnell, the chair of the budget committee in the town of Washington. And if we're gonna, my comments deal with the budget, so if you'd like me to wait until the second part of this meeting.
I don't know how much of the budget we are gonna be discussing at this point. But probably at our first meeting of the budget committee, when everybody's seated, we will have a serious public comment period on it. But if there's something you'd like to address right now, is as good a time.
Okay,
As many.
so, just offer my concern from the town of Washington, having to do about the county budget. When you look at the increase that looks like it's at 11%, that has a huge impact on all of the towns. Most of the towns that have the March town meeting has already had that, so that makes a huge impact. The other big concern has to do with the communications budget. Well, the virtual slide that is there says that if you look to the far left, it says no tax increase. Well, I don't care what, it's a fee. I don't care if you call it a fee, an assessment, or whatever it is. When it comes down to the town level, it's still a tax. The only way to raise that fee is with a property tax. A 50% increase to that one department is unreasonable. So, as the budget committee does its deliberations over the next few weeks here, I'd like them to take that into consideration. And I don't even know if it's a fee, if it's even gonna be discussed down the road. So, that's my concern, is that a 50% increase, and when you look at that, so if you add that 50% increase to the proposed budget, that goes from an 11% county budget increase. You add the 50%, now it's 16.2% increase. So I just need to, I'm gonna ask the budget committee to make sure that they take a real hard look at a 50% increase. Thank you.
Thank you, and I guarantee that will be a topic of conversation, I'm sure, amongst the budget committee. Yes, thank you. Anybody else wishing to address the commission or the budget committee?
Catherine Grinnell, I'm the select board chair for the town of Washington, and I would just like to say that the select board for Washington does support everything Don is saying. We're, concerned about especially about the 50% increase in communications, and I know that is an important thing that the county offers to the towns and the residents, but that is a big jump. Thank you.
Anybody else? This is not to say that if you have something to say later, that there will be a time for the people to speak up, but this is the best time. Seeing there's no comments, any further comments? We'll move on to the next issue, which is action items. And the first action item we have is an act to approve the 2026 step and COLA increases effective January 1st, 2026 per the county personnel policy. Second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
I'm interested to hear, I think from Kathy, about if you're people. I think this was the conversation we had about the closeout of 25 and how that positioned us for this. Am I remembering that correctly, Kathy?
Well, we haven't closed out 25, we won't be done with our audit until June. But going into 25, we really diminished what our undesignated availability was by funding the budget. So I don't think that we can look to 25 to help fund 26. And as far as the salary increases, they're all built into the base that the budget committee is going to be reviewing. But salaries are not the only increase coming into 26. We also have increased costs in contracts and insurance and gas. So the increase is not all contributed to personnel service.
I think, and thank you for refreshing my memory on that, and I think the concern before was that we didn't want to vote on this until we had a better sense of, I thought the 25 closed out, but I might be misremembering that. And sorry, Amber, do you have something to add?
No, I was just gonna say, I think at the last meeting, we had discussed, the commission is gonna have to make the decision based on the 26 numbers and nothing to do with 25, just because we won't have it done in time.
Yeah.
Typically, when this is done, it's included in the budget, goes through the process at the end of the year and is improved, but since we have this unique budget this year, and it would have to be a retro amount, that's why we're bringing it forward.
And I'm thinking my concern at the time was that we were making a decision that was sort of forcing an encumbrance on the budget committee, is that correct? I mean, that's sort of a harsh way of phrasing it, but we're making a decision that can't be undone in the budget process.
I think, the back and forth per the charter that the budgeting commission have, I think, there can be some healthy conversation about that. I think to Kathy's point, we have depleted our undesignated to offset the tax base so much that if anything goes unplanned this year or anything like that, you're approving, right, this stepping pole in a unique budget where we're only having a chunk of the budget year, and we don't have a safe net, if you will, as much as we did in past years. So there's a little less to play around with if something breaks or if our HVAC system fails or roof starts leaking, things like that. We don't have that as much of a cushion, I guess is a good way to put it.
Thanks for remembering that conversation completely, but okay, that's helpful.
If we pass the budget as it's presented, is this automatically taken care of?
Yes.
So we don't need to do this as a separate item if we're in the process of working on the budget and it gets passed. Is that correct?
Typically, yes, but because there's a retroactive amount, right, nobody's received it. So that's why it's a, I don't want to say a special vote, but that's why it's being called to your attention. It's not just part of, okay, the budget process and it takes effect January 1. This has to be approved to be backdated, which,
But does it change any of the numbers that are in the budget at the moment?
So basically, we need to do it because of the retroactive part of it, but it will still be a part of the discussion with the budget committee.
just like the entire budget will be, that's what I mean.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's a contract that we have made with our employees that, at the beginning of the year, that they get a certain increase. And some of it is union numbers that we're required to by contract. Some of it is by personnel policy. So yes, I mean, all along, we've gone on the assumption that we want to make sure that our employees, just because we're in the process of a screwed up budget here, that they still get the amount of money that we've promised them. And if you think that we have to pass this to make that happen as opposed to just passing the budget, then I would be in favor of passing this because I want to make sure that they get what we've promised them.
I'll call the vote.
Oh, go right ahead.
Okay.
I have one question.
Sure.
What's the COLA amount that you're approving?
2.49%.
And that's already in the budget, the way it's spelled out.
Correct.
Yeah. Any other discussion? Seeing as there's none, all those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. The act carries. Next one we have is, an act to accept grants awards for the Emergency Management Performance Grant, EMPG, and the Local Emergency Planning Committee, LEPC, and these are for EMA. Yes, do I have a motion? Moved and seconded. Discussion, these are grants that we applied for, but are given to us through the state. They're federal grants that go to us through the state. There was some question between us and the state. Since the federal government, since these are through the Department of Homeland Security, these were grants that came with an agreement from the county to also enforce federal immigration law. And it has since been dropped and changed so that they're back to the normal wording for the grants that we've accepted for the past, God knows how many years. And one of the grants is for, what, 80,000?
69,885.
Almost 70,000.
that number.
And the other grant is for,
The other one is, there's two pieces to it, it's about 7,000 for the LEDC clerk, 5 hours a week, and almost 7,000 goes directly to the towns for hazmat training for fire departments.
and if we didn't accept these grants and we still wanted to provide those programs, it would cost us that amount of money. And so this is the offset to help us provide those. Any other discussion?
I was just gonna say, we were very cautious because of previous wording, but now that that's changed, there's no downside to accepting these. And if we don't, then the money's gotta come out of the county and the county budget, so it's a win-win at this point.
If there's no further discussion, all those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. Then we move on to the reason everybody's here, which is the appointment to the District 7 Budget Committees. As you all know, we've had a problem getting people on the committee. The state law has passed, the governor has signed it, and we are now empowered to appoint somebody to the commission, to the committee to make it a committee that has a quorum, so therefore can act on its own. That being the case, I believe that there has been somebody nominated by the town to fill that seat.
Yes. So the District 7 seat, which is Warren, I believe, and only Warren, that town has nominated Roger Peabody.
And Roger has served on this committee for many years in the past.
Yes.
And he's the reason that we're here is because he didn't run for re-election this last time. And so therefore, we have to find a way to get him back. And that being the case, I will accept the motion to appoint Roger to the committee.
Second.
Any further discussion? I would like to thank Commissioner Hine for her extra work to make sure that this happened. Also, the sheriff has been instrumental in going to Augusta and browbeating everybody and voting in favor. So, thank you all very much. And if there's no further discussion, I will call the vote. All those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. Thank you. Your willingness to serve.
Now we're going to swear Roger in now so that we can proceed with the rest of the meeting.
Sure.
Raise your right hand, repeat after me. I, Roger Peabody,
Roger Peabody,
do swear that I will,
that I will,
for the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
and of this state,
of the state,
so long as I shall
so shall
continue a citizen thereof.
continue a citizen thereof.
So help me God. I, Roger Peabody, do swear
Roger Peabody, do swear
that I will faithfully discharge,
that I will faithfully discharge
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my abilities,
the duties incumbent on me
the duties incumbent on me
as a member of
as a member of
the Budget Committee of Knox County District 6. Budget Committee of Knox
Budget
County,
Committee.
District 6.
districts.
Sorry, 7.
Yes, yeah, yes, sir.
7.
According to the
And
Constitution.
laws of this state,
and laws of this state.
so help me God.
So help me God.
And so now that we have a fully functioning committee, I don't know exactly who should call the budget committee to order. We don't have a chair at the moment,
It was gonna take care of it.
but Amber's gonna do it. Okay, great.
I call the budget committee meeting to order, or I'm sorry, the joint commission and budget committee meeting to order. And then you need to as well, I believe.
Oh, we're already in session.
Okay,
so we
they
don't
were
have to
good.
do anything.
Great, okay.
I would ask that people who are currently on the committees identify themselves so we know who's who.
Douglas Erickson, Houston. Jeff Northbury, South Thomas.
Nicole Halleck Rockland.
John Moutland, Union. Peter Lindquist from Camden.
Peabody belong.
Great. Okay. Well, and you then will be appointed by the committee and Nicole will be appointed by the committee. Is there anybody else here who's going to be, that's it, or who's going to be appointed today?
We do have one more that will be appointed.
But they're not here.
They're not here.
Then we'll turn it over to the budget committee. Whoever would like to, I think what we need to do
It was gonna take care of all else.
is appoint orders, officers, would be the first.
Yes. Do we, well,
Appointment of another one.
yes, it's like, okay. So the first would be for the District 1 seat, which would be George Hobbs of Spruce Head. So we received his appointment from the town of Spruce Head. Is there any discussion regarding George Hobbs' nomination to the budget committee from the budget committee members?
Thank you.
Really nice, thank you. And then I will call the vote for the current budget committee members, if they are in favor or not in favor of nominating George Hobbs to the District 1 budget committee seat.
I think Nicole.
Congratulations. We'll also do the same thing for District number 3. And this would be for Rockland. This is going to be Nicole Calick, excuse me. Any discussion regarding Nicole's nomination? Okay. I'll call for a vote to nominate Nicole Calick for District 3 of Rockland. And I think we might have to backtrack, because I think you have to confirm.
Do that.
At the end.
We'll approve all of them.
This is gonna be a funky meeting a little bit. And I do believe we can appoint the last member for Rockland, and we'll just swear them in later on, even though they're not present tonight. So the second District 3 seat for Rockland, so District 3 has 2 seats in Rockland, would be Steve Manning. Any discussion regarding Steve Manning's nomination to the budget committee? And I'll call for a vote of current budget committee members.
My question is, do they have to be sworn in too?
Yes.
And will the sheriff do all three of them at the same time?
We can do two now, and then we'll,
And I will just state before they're sworn in, that it's up to the final step is for the commission to accept their membership. So moved.
Oh, seconds.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing it was done, all those in favor? Three in favor, none. Get your vote.
State your name, and as well, your district numbers. That's what was going to be the same. So please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do swear. That I will support. The Constitution of the United States. This state. And this state. So long as I. A single citizen thereof. So help me God. I state your name. Do swear. That I will faithfully discharge. To the best of my ability. The duties incumbent on me. Member of the Knox County Budget Committee. According to the Constitution. The laws of this state. So help me God. Thank you.
I will now call for an election of budget committee officers. So out of the current, yes, all of us are current budget committee members now. So do I hear a nomination for the chair for the budget committee?
Nominate Roger Peabody. You need a second?
Or any discussion? Yes, good. You want a second, please? Any discussion, any other nominations? All those in favor? Beautiful, congratulations. You're up.
I abstain.
Then I will call for a nomination for the vice chair of the budget committee.
Nominate
Nicole.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion or any other nominations?
I nominate Jeff Northgraves.
I withdraw.
Any other discussion or? All those in favor of Nicole Calic as vice chair? And the last one would be secretary. Do I hear a nomination for the secretary for the budget committee? Before we discuss, do one of you want to fill the group in on what that role would actually entail? If anything?
Secretary basically is just a title for the most part,
Okay.
because whoever's normally it's before will be the backup for that.
Yeah.
So it's just, and he's like managing, I think usually once someone bought it.
Okay, okay. It's not a ton of work involved. Any nominations for the secretary for the budget committee?
You can nominate yourself if you think you want to do it.
I'll nominate John Mutline.
I'll decline. Can't read my own writing.
The other nomination.
I'll do it.
Douglas is nominating himself. Do I hear a second? Any further discussion or any other nominations? Perfect. All those in favor? Perfect. So now that we have the chair of the budget committee, I don't want to take over the rest of the meeting too much, but what I was planning on doing is giving a high-level overview of our visual budget. So just kind of walking everybody through at a very high level, going through some of the overall budget drivers for this year, kind of just giving some more information about who we are and what we do. Doing a light review of the capital improvement projects that we have, a quick update on the 2025 year-to-date, which we kind of already did because it's not closed yet, and then finalizing the budget process schedule, if that's. Okay. I know some of you are gonna have to turn, and I apologize, but we are gonna be going through the visual budget. So for those of you who have already seen this and kind of checked it out, I apologize, and this will be a bit redundant. But this is our visual budget. It started it maybe 3 years ago. This year you'll notice a lot more information, a lot more resources, and a little bit more user-friendly, I'll say. This was put together by myself and our GIS manager, Leticia. We've received a lot of really great feedback thus far from it, from our towns, our municipalities, our commission, and some of our citizens. So I'm hoping you find it to be a valuable tool. This top bar here is just going to bring you to exactly where you want to be if you're looking for something specific. So the Knox County 26 budget is the overall. Who we are goes into more details. Our budget will allow you to go by department, summary, or line item, and then moving forward are just kind of the next steps in this process. So the Knox County 2026 budget, it's our responsibility and privilege to present the proposed 2026 budget. This year's budgeting process has been unique, marked by a collaborative effort with the Maine State Legislature to overcome procedural challenges, and we thank you for your patience. Throughout our meetings and educational tools, we hope to tell our story and share the wonderful work we do here at Knox County. We invite you to join us as we together implement the county vision for the coming year. This is a living document. It's going to be updated throughout the budget process, and the budget is not approved until the final public hearing and vote. So this is a continuous working document. And a little bit about who we are, I won't dive in too much. We serve 18 municipalities. We serve roughly 40,000 citizens or residents. We have 4 facilities in the county. We have our public safety and corrections. We have public records, which is our register of deeds and registry of probate. We have our Knox County Airport. We have judicial offices, including the district attorney's office, the probate court, and then we do a lot to provide support for the judicial and superior court, or I'm sorry, superior and district court. And then we have county administration, which is all of these support departments that make all of this happen. As you go through, the blue little lines will show you where our county facilities are. Number 1 being the county courthouse, and that'll include the departments that are housed here. If you continue down, it'll be our public safety building, which is where our emergency management agency, our sheriff's office, and our 911 dispatch center is. The 3rd facility is our Knox County Corrections, and the 4th is the Knox County Regional Airport. So as most of us probably know by now, there were unfilled vacancies on the Knox County Budget Committee at the commencement of the annual budget review last year. Unfortunately, there was no local resource to address this unusual issue. Local legislators at our commission and our sheriff and a lot of wonderful citizens work closely with county administration to seek emergency legislation, which established our process for today. It was signed by the governor on March 13th, just for reference, and we will be meeting promptly, AKA tonight, and some good resources to just stay tuned in as we go through here. So everything will be posted on the county website, and you can always view the meetings on our YouTube channel if you're not able to attend in person. Okay. So here's where we get into the different ways you can explore the budget. You can go summary, you can go by department, you can go by line item. It's very, very detailed depending on what you're looking for. Or you can click this nice red box and it'll bring you right to the draft PDF version of the budget if that's easier for you. As you go down throughout the departments, you're gonna have some tools here on the right. It's gonna show you expenses versus revenue and the differences between last year and this year. Keeping in mind that we have not closed last year, just as a statement. But I do want to focus on, and you will have in front of you this lovely little handout. It'll have the same information that's in the visual budget. So I'll talk a little bit about what our departments do and then the drivers for this budget process. So overall, our 2026 budget drivers for all departments is going to include the typical personnel increases. Those are things like health insurance, workers' comp, a lot of those things that are out of our control. The corrections operational transition is going to be a shift in our budget. All of the required computer supplies and equipment, you'll see a little bit of an increase here because that was all previously funded by ARPA. All of our required office license upgrades, and then there are a few building maintenance and law enforcement capital improvement projects. Any questions so far?
Amber,
Yes.
this is pretty basic, but I've got, the way you said it is how can 2025 not be closed out? How can that, we have a calendar year existence in the county. So we've already started 26. How can 25 not be closed out?
I guess I can answer that. Anytime we begin a budget where prior year is never closed out, so we're still in the process of reconciling our accounts, doing our due diligence. Our audit does not start until the end of April. So our prior year doesn't officially close until the audit is completed. And we actually asked the audit to start earlier because of the situation that we're in. Normally, we would not. They prefer not to begin until usually June. So when we're saying we're not closed, I mean, we're close to being
Well,
closed.
okay.
And I think I'll also just add, when Morgan was asking about 25, and I was commenting about undesignated, there is a page in the back of your budget binders giving a detail of where we project we're going to end 25 undesignated, so that everyone has that information. We're not keeping it secret.
Thank you.
All right. We're gonna scroll through and just at a very high level for tonight's purposes, just go through the various departments, their quick budget drivers, and then we'll wrap up the visual budget. Excuse me. So in addition to the budget drivers we discussed just a moment ago, as far as administration, you're gonna notice a shift in tolls, parking, ferries, and taxis. That's due to engaging more with the towns, going out to the islands to visit, attending meetings in person, having the county show up in person to our municipalities, as well as our legal. I think we've alluded many times, 2025 was a little bit tough. We used a lot of our reserve, we used a lot of our undesignated, so the legal line and administration, that was all utilized, so we had to increase that. Miscellaneous budgets, I will spend just a moment here. You'll find it in your budget binder, it'll be a whole page. It's made up of 3 different components, I'll say. One is our debt service, this is gonna be the TAN interest. This was also formally offset by ARPA and undesignated funds, so we don't have that this year. The second is gonna be insurance, that's dictated by the risk pool, we don't have a say in what that number will be. And the third are external requests from agencies in our community that are looking for funding or other things of that nature. I think for the past couple of years, we've worked with the same grantees, so you'll see the same names in your binders, and we've just included what they've requested here. If we scroll down to finance, again, same budget drivers, the personnel, the computer supplies, but in addition, we also have some computer repairs and maintenance, and the addition of our time and attendance implementation. So Knox County recently implemented an HRIS platform for employees, and this is just an extension of that. Building maintenance, we'll go just keep it on budget drivers for tonight. So water and sewer, the main water increased quite significantly over the last year. Ground maintenance, their contract increases, required line painting for safety requirements. Water, there's been a lot of increase in rentals, bottled water, and of course main water. And then there's capital projects that we'll dive into a little bit further down. The IT budget, so we are gonna have some, or you'll see some equipment repairs and maintenance that's due to a network migration. Computer repairs and maintenance, office supplies and equipment to replace some broken furniture, and computer supplies and equipment, all necessary to run, again, the 4 buildings that we have in Norris County that have very unique requirements with criminal justice information, et cetera. The district attorney budget, again, as you go through, the major drivers are gonna be wages. So there were some internal transitions. You actually notice a decrease in wages in the district attorney's office. The drug analysis definitely varies year to year and is based off of cases. United Witness fees, we have no reimbursement from 2025 due to lack of funding. This is something that the state reimburses us, so it's a little unpredictable, if you will. Training and lodging, there are required trainings as the district attorney's office supports the state. They have required trainings. So that covers that piece. Book statutes and subscriptions, and the witness advocate grant we determined not to pursue due to the workload, did not align with the amount of money that we were receiving in return. Registry of Deeds. Revenue is very difficult to predict in our Registry of Deeds and Registry of Probate, as you'll notice. And we also, there is a legislative bill out that the state may absorb more transfer tax. Oh, it went down, great, can remove that. And the Registry of Probate, same thing compared to last year and this year, you'll just notice the revenue is difficult to predict, so that would be the driver there. Emergency Management Agency, the equipment repairs and maintenance. So I'm not sure how many of you have heard about the RAVE notification system, but we're implementing that, again, previously funded by grants and is no longer funded by grants, so you'll see it appear in this year's budget. Communications budget, again, we're not going to dive too deep into this tonight. The major changes you'll see in the wage line, request for 2 new dispatchers. The legal line, there's an anticipation of union negotiations. Equipment repairs and maintenance, there's a lot of required updates for those computers that run 24/7. And then the computer supplies and equipment is to update all of the consoles, which again run 24/7. I believe they're recommended to switch over every 5 years, and we're hitting that mark now. Knox County Sheriff's budget, so this is going to include patrol, CID, which is our detective team, and then civil process as well, and then their administrative support staff. So for the Sheriff's Department, it's going to be overtime. It's extremely variable, as you can imagine, in law enforcement, especially with the additional yellow and red flag laws, which again, we'll get into a little bit further on another night. In addition, we will be working with a consultant, an investigator. So in the consultant line, you'll notice a jump there. Meals and lodging required annual training that we must attend, boat repairs and maintenance, auto supplies and equipment, and then the capital projects, which are going to include vehicle replacements. Corrections budget. So most of you are aware there was a major shift from a full jail to a holding facility January 1 of 2026. So there is a big shift in the corrections budget from last year to this year. You'll notice in the Board of Prisoners line, we are in a contract with Two Bridges Regional Jail. Wages have decreased due to the transition. Gas and diesel has increased due to transportation to and from Knox County and Two Bridges Regional Jail. There's also increased auto repairs and maintenance for the same reason, and auto supplies and equipment for the same reason. A lot more driving back and forth between the two facilities. And the Knox County Regional Airport. So the per diem line, you'll notice a shift, requirements for the solar project and snow removal, dues and memberships. We have an increase for certain subscriptions that we're a part of. Auto repairs and maintenance. maintenance supplies and equipment, trying to get more tools and safety things in place for our runway, and then computer supplies and equipment, required license, maintenance, and access. Airport security, which I believe is our last one, and those are gonna be meals, lodging, and training, so required continuing education, and then uniforms, it's the time to replace a few of those pieces of equipment. So again, as you go through, you'll notice, and of course on this side, you have tools to look at revenue versus expenses this year versus last year. But those are the major budget drivers, just as you go through and look in alone. And I'll close with, so we're anticipating adopting this budget May 2026, if all goes well. And the 2027 county budget process should be proceeding as normal. January 1, 2027, there'll be 4 vacancies on the budget committee, which will need to be filled in the fall 2026 election cycle. That is our visual budget and kind of an overview, at least, of our big budget drivers this year, without picking apart any one department, because we do have time set aside for all of that. Any overall questions or comments on the overall 2026 budget proposal at this time? Yes.
Another question, Amber. When you take these 11% of the non-communication part, how much is continuing operations stuff we've been doing in the past years? And how much is new, either stipulated by new main laws or services that we think we need to provide as a modern county to our voters? So that we get a feeling. But what I'm trying to understand is, are we way above inflation, or do we just evolve, modernizing ourselves in a desired way?
I can definitely find that out for you. I don't have it in front of me, but I can work with the finance director and see what we can come up with for the next meeting. So you can have a little bit of a breakdown on what is continuous and what would be new. And if we have any trends of what that might look like over the next couple of years, I can also try and include that.
Amber, do you have a breakdown on what each municipality is gonna be paying this year versus last year?
I do. Again, I can email it out probably this week. It's actually, is it in there? Okay, I was gonna say. It might be produced already, yeah. Oh, and it does have 25 in it. That's what I was wondering if I had. Be the third or fourth page.
Thank you. Thank you.
The second question, if I may, where in the planning process are we? Typically, as I know, that's more corporate world, but I guess it's the same. First, you ask the departments, how much more do you need? And I would say that's the wish list. And then typically, you get into a phase where the management pushes down, you start negotiating. Where are we? Is this the initial request, or has this already been happily negotiated?
Great question. So yes, department managers produce a budget to the county administrator. We meet, we discuss it. We go back and forth a little bit, and then we present what we feel is the final draft to the commission. The commission then have to adopt, I believe is the correct term, that budget as the budget that they're then going to produce to the budget committee. So we've gone through all of those steps. So department managers have done their proposal, I've done mine to the commission, and the commission has accepted that draft budget and has now submitted it to you all. You're welcome. Any other questions?
I'll make an observation that the visual budget is based on the paper budget that we have here. So if anybody needs anything, it is in this packet
Yes.
too.
Yes.
It's not like there's something up there that's different than what we have here. Though that may be changed, and we'll note what the changes are in our own budget.
And I'll add one thing to your question. I believe we asked of everybody, the county administrator asked, finance director asked, all the departments to come in with the lowest possible budget they could. There was no wish list involved in terms of I want this and want that. We knew this was going to be an exceptionally difficult year, both because of the problem with the staffing of the budget committee, but also because I think we all live in the county. We all know what's been going on with new evaluations and with the federal budgets and everything that's going on. So we asked for the lowest we could possibly get. That was the request we started with.
Okay, thank you.
And that's important, I think, to everybody.
Well, no more question, then I have one. We have this particularly, well, we have these guests from town of Washington, and we have this particular budget communications plus 50%. Perhaps you can explain to all of us what's happening there. I'm sure this is not inflation. There must be something severely going on there.
Sure.
That you perhaps can share.
Yes, so with the communications budget, and why it's separate, it is a fee for service, so it's treated a lot different than the tax base, but you're absolutely right, it is one and the same at the end of the day. So in 2024, the communications director and county administrator proposed a $1.8 million budget for 2025. The commission and budget committee approved to add $400,000 from undesignated to offset to not tax our taxpayers as much, which reduced it to only taxing 1.4 million, if that makes sense. So this year, the proposed budget is about 1.9, so we're really not asking for that much more, but the big increase is because we did use all of our undesignated in 2024 for the 2025 budget to not be taxing the taxpayers so much. So there's no major increase outside of that. It's truly just, we have to make up that funding somewhere. I think at the time too, we were not in the best place in communications. I think a lot of people were hesitant to throw a ton of money at it because it wasn't in the best place. But I think a lot of us know today it is in a wonderful place. We're moving forward in a strong way, and we now know what it costs to run a center of that nature. So that's the bulk of it right there.
I can add a few things to that. One of the, I'm new to most of the people on the budget committee. My name is Mark Ratner. I'm one of the new commissioners this year. I sat through the budget meetings last year because I was on the ballot. I've also been involved. I was in the Camden Select Board for 6 years. I've been in the Camden Budget Committee for the last 3 years. So I've been involved a long time looking at budgets. And one of the, I've also had 30 plus years of working in public safety. And so that's one of the things that I really concentrated on when I got elected. I said, the thing I want to do is fix the problem, the longstanding problems we had with the 911 call center. If you all remember, the call center was threatened by the state to be closed down, which means the individual towns would have had to take on more responsibility, and it would have cost them a lot more, would have cost everybody a lot more money unless we fixed the committee. We spent a year working to fix the problems we have with the 911 call center, and they've been fixed. The one thing left, you notice that in the budget, the only two new employees we're asking for in the whole county are the two new people for the call center. One of the problems the call center had is it wasn't properly staffed, and without a certain level of staffing, that was one of the problems that the state had with threatening to close it down. You have to have a certain availability of people working all the time, and so that's the key thing of why there are other departments that would like to have more staffing. The sheriff department particularly needs more staffing and has agreed to wait till next year to do stuff. But one of the things in Camden, to give you an evaluation, one of the things I find that confuses people when you say we're increasing the budget by 13% or 16%, it doesn't mean that the taxes go up by that amount. That's a completely figure that doesn't really tie into taxes. It's involved in the mill rate. In Camden, The fire department is asking for 2 full-time new employees because they just went 24/7 last year, which is, I think, important for public safety. And I wanted to know how much does that cost, 2 employees per household? Because that's what we never hear. And I asked the town person, and based on 2 new people for the Camden Fire Department, that would just be paid by Camden, 2 new full-time employees would add 9 cents to the mill rate, which would equate to about $27 to a tax bill for a home land value of $300,000. So 2 new employees here, it's $27 for Camden to add 2 employees per household. 2 employees for the call center would be much less because we're dealing with a much wider thing. So we're talking maybe add $5 to a tax bill per house. And I think that's important to know because I've never seen anybody ask, what's it gonna cost us for real? And I think that's important. But the important thing here is, I just checking, Maine is the oldest state in the country. Knox County is tied for 3rd, is the oldest county in the state. And my feeling is, and I've been involved, I worked for the LA County Sheriff's Department for 32 years as a reserve deputy. I'm a founder, member of Coastal Mountain Search and Rescue. And I've been involved in public safety for years and years. And in a county in this age, in these days and ages, the most probable involvement with government that anybody in the county is going to do is when they call 911. And they have to have somebody that knows the job, knows who to call, who to get there to help them on the phone. We need that more than anything else. Public safety is number 1. I can deal with, as I said in Camden, if we have to plant less trees or things like that. The problem is the county, we only provide services. We don't have any fluff that we can get rid of. We can't, we don't buy new paintings for the walls or anything like that. We strictly provide services. And so I'm very passionate about public safety, and I think that call center is more important about anything else.
We will go into a lot more detail on this as we discuss that, taking up night.
Anyway, that's, yeah.
But just to give you a little background, because he touched on one thing about staffing. This is the first year that we're close to full staff, or last year. One of the problems we had over the last few years was we have not been at full staffing. And so therefore, we had a lot of money that hadn't been spent that went into the reserve account or the undesignated fund behind these things. So last year, when we had 400,000, it was because we were woefully understaffed for the last few years. Now, all of a sudden, we're fully staffed. We found out that even being fully staffed was not quite enough. But that's why when you say it's a big jump, it's because we don't have that money from being understaffed anymore. Now we're paying people and we're paying them close to what they really deserve, which is why we have people who are willing to work for us. And so now we're fully staffed, which means we provide a better service, but it costs a lot more.
The one thing I will add,
Of course you
and
can.
I'm now, previously to this year, Knox County, Carlton was the place nobody wanted to come work. And people would not apply for the job. Now we have a new director who's been an incredible addition, Jessica over there. Now we are the #1 place where people apply. We have the best staff and the best people, and I think provide the best support for our citizens in the state. And I'm really proud of that and the job they've done. So that's it.
Sure.
Did you have a question?
Yes. Before Knox County got into dispatching, Town of Union was paying $4,000 a year. Now we're up to over $100,000 a year for dispatching. I'm not saying the system doesn't work great, it's wonderful and all that. But we simply cannot afford the system as it is now. Have you looked into regional dispatch? No, I mean, 4 or 5 other counties besides Knox County to cut the cost.
We
to be honest, and I'll let either of you jump in, we haven't had this opportunity before. We have not been in a place where we could even engage in this type of conversation. But I won't sit here and say that we haven't discussed it as a future option. I think we have a lot of work to do, to get us to a point where we're a trusted, facility, but I'll let you jump in if you want to.
We do have the ability of, once we're with staff, we're nearly there.
Could you introduce yourself?
Jessica Lenahan, I'm the new director for, Knox Regional Communications Center.
Thank you.
I've been working in public service or public safety since August of 2004 in Maine, but I've been doing this for a little while, and it's pretty much the same everywhere. It's just the different nuances about areas and the people and the culture. How it's done and what needs to be done is the same across the board, so this is not new to me. We certainly could, at some point, regionalize if there's other counties that are having issues or are looking to save money or whatnot, so that we could absorb their positions or even contract for services to their county. It's not an unheard of thing. There's a few hurdles that we'd have to figure out, but they're not impossible. Like radio coverage and that kind of thing, but we can totally do that. I know that at one point in time, our IT department and Waldo's IT department was working together so we could have CAD to CAD interface so that we could see what their calls were, they could see what their calls were. We've already got our radios set up that if Lincoln County Center burns down, we have the ability to pull up their radios and at least dispatch their calls. It's not gonna be pretty, but we can get it done. Same thing for Waldo and also the same for them. So we are a redundancy, if we have an emergency, they can help us out. So there is certainly the chance that we could, but the other counties, the other citizens in those counties would have to agree to that kind of thing as well. You don't see where, I see no other way than it to be a cost savings for them to contract with us to do that service for them. And then it would be kind of like a source of revenue for us. But like Commissioner Ryder already keyed in on, we need to be full staffed. That staff also needs to be trained, because you don't want somebody on their very first day answering your 911 call when your granddaughter was found swimming upside down. You know, you don't want somebody who's not trained answering that call. And so the staffing and the training are the two big key factors to providing public safety. And none of the other things in this county work, fire, EMS, and police, if somebody answers the phone. So you gotta think of that as well. But that's not out of the question.
Go ahead, sorry.
Can we benchmark our cost against the cost of other
Sure.
counties or states? But well functioning. I think we all agree when we dial 911, we want a good service. We don't want to save ourselves to death. But it would be interesting, especially for a layman and public, safety like me. What is a typical cost per? Is the numbers you quoted, is it high? Is it low? I don't know. But a benchmark would help.
And I think what year did we go? 2001?
2001.
2001, so.
They said that these places were gonna be your regional dispatch times. So if you were to go regionalize more, you're gonna have to get the state involved.
The other thing, I think, in the past 25 years, I know valuations have shifted quite a bit. I know populations have shifted, and we use both of those metrics to determine that.
And you put the town being able to vote on that assessment, that it's now an assessment, because Union came really close to rejecting the dispatch budget. That's when the next year, the county changed it to an assessment, so we didn't have the opportunity to vote on it.
What year?
Can't remember. So I've been on the budget committee, Union forever, so.
Then a different county attorney said, no, we can't do it that way, and it shifted back to being the part of the overall budget discussion. There was only one year. I don't know which year it was.
I will say, I think the way that we determine what each town is feed, I'll put it that way. We are looking at that. Does it make sense to go off population? Does it make sense to go off of call volume? How easily can we pull those metrics on a yearly basis and shift it? Is there a gap? Are we gonna go off of 2024 numbers for a 2026 budget? So we are looking into that to ensure that we're being fair and equitable and revisiting the subject quite often. But I think just with all the pricing in the world, if you will, technology, if anybody wanted to start their own center, it would be out of control, I would assume.
Yeah, we could have numbers, something like that, just as an estimate, number of calls versus population.
Yeah.
Just, it would help us,
I can do that.
move back to our towns to just
Absolutely.
explain that.
Asked a question.
I guess.
My understanding is that in 2025, some of the staffing was covered by off-duty Knox County sheriffs earning overtime. My question, I guess, is kind of two-part. One, is that a correct statement? And two, is the staffing such that we actually have dedicated people in those roles now so that, sorry guys, maybe you're not getting overtime from the communications department anymore? Just as a, cost savings measure.
You're absolutely correct, that's what was happening, we had per diem folks that were not only off-duty officers from the sheriff's department, there was off-duty from the Thomaston Police Department as well, and other centers. And they were getting paid a premium pay to come in and fill the needs of the center. Actually, none of the law enforcement officers were fully certified dispatcher, which meant they couldn't even answer the 911 lines. But they're there to help with the radios and the business lines and all of the other functions that were going on, and they were a tremendous help, for sure. However, as of today, right now, there are no per diems on my schedule anymore. We have 12 positions. We have 11 of them filled, 2 of them are in training. We have 1 position just waiting to fill. I've already got a person who is already moving into it as soon as it comes open on the 2nd or thereabouts. Fully certified dispatcher with 3 years experience from another center who wants to come here. I already have actually 3 applicants for the other positions if they get approved. So this is now turned into the center where people want to come. We've got 1 certified dispatcher that just came on board a couple weeks ago from another center from Saginaw. We've got 1 that came from Waldo. So they're migrating here because it's a good place to work.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's a quick question.
Sure.
Can you just speak briefly on how long it takes to train a new dispatcher with no experience?
With no experience, it's kind of a subjective thing. Sorry, I talked over my back. So a new dispatcher, brand new, who's never done it before, the first thing that they have to do is they have to go through some state training. It's actually not state training, it's training that the state pays for and requires the state of Maine. It's great training. They gotta be required to answer the 911 call. They've got to go through a class called the emergency medical dispatch. They have to go through emergency fire dispatch. They have to take a 911 class that the state puts on because they're the one that provides the state 911 phones. They teach them how to answer them and what to expect. They also teach them how to use the computer programs that go along with the protocols that they have run. So that in and of itself is about a month. Plus they have to take other classes. CJIS, it's criminal justice classes that they have to take because of the FBI and the credentials that they have to sit in the room. Once they're on the floor, they have to learn how to talk on all the radios. We've got fire, police, EMS radios. We dispatch for 22 agencies. There's a lot going on in that room, and while they're doing all of that, they also have to be running traffic on the radio for traffic stops and running people's driver's license and registrations, attaching things to files, paying attention to all the radios that are going on, grabbing the phones, giving CPR, all those things. It's potentially 6 months to 9 months before somebody's gonna be fully trained. Some people pick it up quicker than others. So it's kind of subjective.
One thing, Jessica has made an open invitation for people that want to go visit the call center, see what actually it is and what it's involved. It's daunting to go in there and you realize how incredibly difficult the job is. It's an amazing thing to see, and I recommend that everybody take some time and drop by the center and observe it and see how hard a job it is, because it's I worked on the other end of dispatchers for years and years. And walking in for the first time to a dispatch center was like, wow, I had no idea how difficult this job was and how complex.
Any other questions?
No, she answered it very. Thank you.
So one other thing, we could, schedule the next meeting.
Yep.
That work for everybody. Thursdays at 5.
Yeah, this is the feedback I got from our email chain, so this is just what I put on paper. I feel all of you can have a healthy discussion about it, and I'll send out a final copy after tonight. But it sounded like Thursdays worked best for everybody. 5 PM seemed okay from what I heard. And just note, there is the 10-day waiting period for public notice to post the budget before we can meet again to final vote, which is why there's a gap between the last couple of meetings. And of course, if we need to schedule another one, if we need to have further discussion, we always add, so meeting number 5, for example, we add any further review. So if there's a department we need to revisit, if there's specific questions we want to dive into, but if we need to add another Tuesday or another Thursday meeting along the way, I'm sure that would be absolutely fine. Would you want to call a vote or just get a
Just a census if it works for everybody.
Except 1 week, the vacation week, I'll be gone.
Okay,
But that's fine.
what week is that?
23rd, April 23rd.
Okay, okay.
But you said you have dial-in option, like Zoom or?
So we don't have a Zoom option anymore. It will be recorded, there'll be meeting minutes. Okay, and then, of course, you and I'm actually not sure who would be appropriate, you and Roger, or you and the chair, or maybe you and I, whatever is more appropriate, can also sit down after when you get back and fill you in on anything that you've missed. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's just the 16th.
The 16th?
Yes.
Okay,
I'll be
the
on
present,
Yeah, I'll be on the stage.
okay,
These meetings also going to be televised live,
yes.
so it's not just recorded, it will be live.
Yep, it'll be, yeah, sorry, yep.
And live on YouTube, correct?
Live on YouTube, recorded thereafter, meeting minutes
And
after.
I know it's a roundabout thing, but if you have a direct question, you know, you might be able to set up a cell phone with somebody so you can ask a question at the meeting while we have the section. So,
Thanks for pointing that out.
And also, any of the department heads you want to meet with, contact them and see, that they schedule to go visit. So-
George has actually met with all of our departments.
Oh, okay, so you're in.
Spent time with all of them, which is
Very interesting also. Dispatcher. At ready control.
Yeah.
did you bring donuts? Did you bring donuts?
I didn't know that was that exactly. Hope I get them.
So the schedule looks okay, are you okay missing that 6th meeting, and same thing, we can. I can finalize that and get it out, and again, as we go, if we need to add something or adjust, we can.
The last meeting is at 6 o'clock instead of 5 o'clock, meeting.
It's due to the fact that it's a public hearing, and we feel we'll get more public presence, because it's the public vote on that meeting, so.
Just
it's
want to
public-
make sure that there was not a mister.
Anything else for the budget committee?
I do have a question about that 5 o'clock time, or, oh. Sorry, 6 o'clock for the, never mind, you take that back.
Okay.
Fine.
If the budget committee doesn't have anything else, if you wanna, adjourn,
Okay.
we'll adjourn after the.
Motion to adjourn the, what's going budget committee? Make motion for a second. It's non-debatable, we table it. Yes.
And on the commission side, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Second.
And we have the, next meeting here, and they'll be on the website.
Yes, they'll be posted to the website.
Call the book, all those in favor? We're adjourned. Thank